dreams, and nightmares. Let's talk about both kinds of customers. Whether you are a hobbyist, weekend warrior, making commissions for friends and family, or already a full-time maker, if you are solo in your shop, this is the show for you. I'm Ronald Lowe's, the host of Solo in the Shop, a woodworking podcast discussing everything from current projects, tools and techniques, decisions around running a small business, and much more. So if you frequently find yourself alone and covered in sawdust, follow my journey and we can be solo in the shop together. Welcome, everyone. It's a blustery day in New Hampshire. I'm up here at the lake, been working on a couple projects, and actually, why don't we get into that? We'll talk about the projects that are on the bench right now first. I've been working on an extension table. Honestly, it's my first one. It's going great. I built some legs. I've strung those together, did a little geometry and glued them up and hit them with the dominoes. And those are in clamps right now. And then I started on the apron and put the extension hardware on that. And it's looking really good. It'll be interesting to see how the legs and the folding mechanism for the center leaf go on. There's a few unknowns in the process, so I'm kind of figuring it out as I go. I could definitely call and get help, but it seems pretty clear how it's got to go. Related to that, I need to order the wood to build the tabletop. It's walnut again, and I'm realizing that I can't use the normal 2-inch thick walnut that I normally use because it won't be hidden by the apron. If I use really thick wood, then the folded extension would actually dip down below the level of the apron and be visible from, people walking around the table. So I don't want that. The next thing that I'm working on is going to be a hall table built from reclaimed wood that the customer supplied. Reclaimed wood is probably a nice word for what I actually received. A more accurate description may be rescued wood that was thrown away on the side of the road and was pulled in and now is going to be a table. Luckily, the customer, who honestly, I'm not sure how she found me, but when I went to visit her and look at the rest of the furniture in her house and talk about what she was looking for and how much space she had and what her style was. She had a very eclectic style. She had a lot of wood furniture, a lot of custom pieces that had been built by other people over the years. And she had pulled in some wood from her travels, called it reclaimed, and said that she wanted a table. She wasn't sure exactly what she wanted the table to look like. Functionally, she wanted it to fit in the space in the hallway that she had. And she has dogs, and when they get wet, she wants to have a little bit of towel storage in this hallway table. So it needs to have a box with a cover that's kind of integrated into the design. Beyond that, she didn't have a lot of guidance. So I offered to send her a lot of drawings of different options of what I could potentially do with the wood that she gave me. And I did. I sent her 6 different drawings, and she picked a very complicated choice. It was the one I kind of secretly was hoping she wouldn't pick, only because it was going to be challenging, because not only does it have a box and a top, it also has a drawer, and it has short little mid-century legs on the bottom. So it's going to be a lot of stuff. I like the challenge. I'm not complaining. I just think it's funny that the thing that I drew that was the most complicated was the one that she picked. At the same time that I'm planning to work on this hall table, I was wrapping up another project, which was an epoxy repair. As I was getting towards delivery day for the epoxy repair project, I was in touch with the husband and wife, and messages started coming in that had me a little concerned. And so today's show is basically a tale of two customers. We're going to call the customer for the reclaimed wood table Scarlett, after one of my favorite characters, Scarlett O'Hara from Gone with the Wind. And we will call the epoxy repair customer Chutney, after the character from Legally Blonde, which I just finished watching the other night. As I think about customers, there's dream customers and there's nightmare customers. What makes Scarlett a dream customer is she was a very good communicator. She was able to describe her style and what she wanted and how she envisioned using the new table in a very concise, clear way that made perfect sense. Another aspect of Scarlett that makes her a dream customer is she's worked with makers before. She's got custom pieces throughout her house, and she knows kind of what to expect as far as the design process, the waiting time, the communication, things like that. So that made it very comfortable from the very beginning. She also trusted without seeing, because I haven't made this reclaimed table before, but she trusted that I would be able to take the wood and make something that she would love. Even when I took the material, we didn't have a clear vision defined yet, but she trusted that we would settle on something and the project would get underway. The other thing that makes her a dream customer is before I left, she mentioned that there were new expensive houses being built in her neighborhood, and she would love to put a yard sign of mine out so that potential buyers would see my services, building custom tables, as they were shopping for these new expensive homes that may or may not need furniture. And that is publicity that is so well targeted for the kind of customers I need, and you really can't beat getting free advertising from an existing customer. And even before I had delivered the table that she wanted, she was already thinking, how can I help spread the word about the products that you offer? So that is a summary of what I think makes for a dream customer, and Scarlett had all of that. On the other side are the warning signs and red flags of a nightmare customer. Now, Chutney did not raise red flags at the outset. The red flags for her showed up a little later. Before I get into all of those, I will mention a couple other red flags that I have run into that cause me to either decline work or price things at a level that I hope they say no. And if they do say yes, now at least I'm making good money doing something for a customer that I'm a little wary of. The first one, I actually got a message through Instagram for a potential piece of work. And before we even talked about what the customer wanted, she asked what my refund policy was. And I just thought that was priceless. I answered her question as politely as I could, something along the lines of, I haven't really had to use any kind of refund policy yet, but I certainly wouldn't expect somebody to pay for something that they don't want. But the reality is I would never build something for someone whose first question, before we even talk about design or whether it's a dining table or a coffee table or a hall table or whatever, first question out of the gate is, what's your refund policy? My policy is not to work with people whose first question is, what's your refund policy? Another red flag is speaking with a customer and having them bad-mouthing previous makers or gossiping about other makers. There is very few things that bother me as much as talking behind someone's back and disparaging another maker, because all I am envisioning is a year in the future when you're talking to someone else and now I'm the one you're talking about. So that personality puts me off, and I would really try to avoid a customer that was gossiping or talking about a previous custom piece. The next thing I look out for has to do with my feedback loop. And that is what happens when I give updates. I try to send photos of projects as they're in progress so that people know where I am in the process. The expectations are clear. They're not thinking that I'm putting finish on when I'm still doing the rough cuts or milling wood. I want them to be very clear on where I am in the process. And if during that update process, I get a lot of pushback, I get a lot of questions about, is that going to look good? Is that going to be the right height? Is it going to be too sharp, too round, too dark, too light? Should we paint it? Should we change the color? These are all design questions that we've talked about, and it kind of goes back to the trust that I'm building what we described. So I worry about the customer that gives me negative feedback after I give updates, is I guess what I'm saying. Related to that, the customers that I try to avoid is anyone that is slow to respond. Now, I myself was guilty of this about 4 months ago. I had a potential customer reach out to me, and I just plain missed the message. I did not see it. And probably a week and a half went by, and I wrote back and I was very apologetic. And I said, I'm really sorry. I'm just seeing this. I would love to talk to you about your project, but I never heard from her again. And that's on me. She's completely right. If she reaches out to me and I don't reply for a week and a half, that should be a red flag. She should stay away. And the flip side is true. If I respond to some customer and I don't hear back, or I've been in discussion, I send you design, I send you an estimate, and I don't hear anything, that's a red flag for me, because as we build, I want to make sure that we can collaborate. If there's an issue, if there's a change, if there's, a change to the schedule, or I want to discuss, a change in design because as I'm building it, I see something that would look better or make it more attractive. For example, the extension table I'm working on, we originally discussed making it 34 inches wide. As I was looking at it, I was like, this would look so much better if it was 38 inches wide, but I wanted to make sure that the customer had room for that and that I wasn't creating a problem by making it 4 inches wider. I sent her a message. I heard back an hour later saying, yeah, that sounds great. So having that quick communication is key. And, maybe you'll get through a whole project and not need that kind of communication. But if at the beginning of a relationship, the communication is marked by huge gaps between sending a message, getting a reply, sending an email, getting a reply, making a phone call, leaving a voicemail, and then not hearing back, these are red flags. These are not the issues that Chutney had. And Chutney was just this week and was kind of what prompted this show, because up until last week, Chutney had been a great customer, very responsive, and was working with me to make some decisions. And we were able to work through that over the course of the last 2 months. As I got closer and closer to delivery day, I was messaging both Chutney and Chutney's husband. I don't have a good name for him. I should think about that. But Chutney's husband wrote back, we need to schedule this at a time that Chutney can be there, because if she doesn't like it, I'll never hear the end of it. Well, this is the first discussion of what if Chutney doesn't like it. And as we got closer and closer and I sent photos, I was not getting the normal reaction I'm used to, which is, this is beautiful. I love it. I can't wait to see this in the home. I can't wait to see this in place. It was, thanks for the photo. Delivery day finally rolls around. I get a phone call first thing in the morning saying, hey, Chutney's not going to be able to be there. Let's reschedule because she really needs to like it. So this is the second time that comment's been made. And I've sent several pictures of the finished product already. So I'm kind of concerned that Chutney is not going to like this. And I also sense a bit of fear in Chutney's husband's voice, like she's hard to please. We reschedule for the next day and the delivery happens. Now, the normal flow when I do a delivery is I deliver things wrapped in moving blankets and they get unwrapped in front of the customer. And I'm used to a reaction from the customer that is so overwhelmingly positive and joyous that it's like a high for me. I love it. It's just this very rewarding, wonderful feeling. That didn't happen with Chutney. Chutney just looked at it. Chutney's family was somewhat gushing, but also looking at her saying, "Mom, do you like this? Chutney, is it okay?" The whole installation and delivery was very awkward, very uncomfortable. She did seem to like it, though she didn't say so. She just didn't say, "I hate this, take it back." So it was hard to tell. Did she like it? Were there things that she wished were done differently? I thought it came out beautiful. My wife, Anne, thought it came out beautifully, but very hard to read. I was pleasantly surprised that she did leave me a very gushing, glowing review. I feel good about that, but I didn't feel good at delivery. And I think had I known what I was getting into as far as getting a hard-to-please customer, I probably would have avoided the project. I put a lot of work into that project. It was very messy. It was very long. There was some technical challenges that I had to work through. So I kind of worked really hard on it to get almost no reaction at delivery time. Maybe she's not a nightmare customer, but it wasn't great. So as you are building your business, whether it's on the side or full-time, try to identify what attributes would signal to you a dream customer. Maybe your standards are different. Maybe your personality is different, but take stock of what you look for in a great customer and also have handy a list of things that are red flags, warning signs that tell you maybe stay away from this one. The last 2 weeks have definitely highlighted for me what I look for in a customer and what I try to avoid in a customer. Hopefully these stories have given you some insight into what makes a great customer and what makes a nightmare customer. We all have our own standards. Those are mine. Definitely take stock of what yours are. That's all I have for you this time. I hope you find your dream customer and they tell 2 friends and they tell 2 friends, and then you have more customers than you can handle. Until then, stay safe in the shop and we'll talk again soon. Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you got value from it and would like to help the show grow, I'd appreciate a review wherever you listen. Be sure to check the show notes for links to my socials or any extra stuff we discussed today. Until next time, stay safe in your shop and we'll talk again soon.